Let's proceed with determining standard equation of an ellipse and sketching its graph. We have four cases.
For our first case, we have here the given coordinates of the center, vertices, and co-vertices. So for our example, we have find the standard equation and sketch the graph of each of the following ellipse. For number 1, we have center at 0, 0. We have vertex 1 or v sub 1 that is at negative 4 and 0. Vertex 2 or v sub 2 that is at 4 and 0. We have co-vertex 1 or CV sub 1 which is at 0 and negative 3, and CV sub 2 0 and 3. For number 2, we have the given vertex 2, I mean center at 2 and 4, V sub 1, 2 and 0, V sub 2, 2 and 8, CV sub 1, 0 and 4, and CV sub 2, 4 and 4. So as for the solution, for our first example, again, the given, we have center at 0 and 0. And we also have vertex 1, which is negative 4 and 0. Vertex 2, which is positive 4 and 0. And we also have the co-vertex 1, which is 0 and negative 3. And co-vertex 2, which is 0 and positive 3. So in finding for the standard equation of an ellipse, two things lang yapon ang atong kailangan. Ay, actually, three. Three na. Okay, first is the the coordinates of our center, which is given na daan, no? And also our distance A and distance B. Okay, so kani ang ato ang mga pangitaon. Now, remember that the distance A is the distance from center to our vertex, one vertex, no? And also, our distance B is the distance from center to our one of our co-vertices. So, since given man ang atong vertices and also co-vertices, dali na lang nato pangitaon ang distance A and distance B. Okay? So, technique, dili na magamit og distance formula. Okay? So, kung mapansin ninyo, for our distance A, for A, okay, again, ang kailangan lang nato is the center, which is 0 and 0, and 1. Isa lang. Pili lang ta kung asa nga vertex. So, say for example, ang gigamit nato is vertex 1, which is negative 4 and 0. Okay, technique lang ani para dili na magamit og distance formula. Since ang y coordinate niya, we have 0, and y coordinates ato ang center is also 0, na then ang ato lang buhaton is i-minus lang nato ang x coordinates ni center og ni vertex 1. Okay, minus lang nato. And then absolute value kay distance man ta. So we have 0 minus negative 4. That would be 0 plus 4, or we have 4. Tama? So therefore, our A is equals to 4. Okay. Always na siya class nga sa given na center and vertices na aginay same og coordinates. Okay, it's either x or y. Because sa atong example kaganina, di ba, naglinya lang ang vertex, ang center og ang foci. So same lang gina sila coordinates na same lang. Okay? Next, for our distance B, okay, same lang gyapon ang atong buhaton, but this time ang gamit nato is center, which is 0 and 0, and say for example si CV sub 1 lang ta. Okay, CV sub 1, which is 0 and negative 3. Okay, so sa center og sa co-vertex nato, ang same nila og coordinates, we have x na 0, dire pod x na 0. So therefore, ang dili parehas, we have y coordinates, which is 0 and negative 3. Minus lang yapon nato. We have 0 minus 3 or minus negative 3. We have b that is equals to 3. Nanatay distance A, nanatay distance B, and we also have the center. Next, pwede na ta mag-formulate og ato ang standard form of equation of the ellipse. But, since duha man to, we have the vertical and the horizontal, so atoa siya ni siyang i-visualize kung horizontal ba o vertical ba ang ato ang ellipse. So, for example, mo ni ang ato ang graph, no? Okay, Cartesian coordinate plane. But later, kung howd na mo, pwede naman na inyuhan na lang matamatahon kung vertical ba na siya or horizontal ba na siya nga ellipse. Pwede ra na siya matamatahon. Okay, but sa ato ang video, ang ako lang siyang i-visualize para sa inyo. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have center at 0, 0. We have co-vertex at 0 and negative 4. 0 and positive 4. Our co-vertex, we have 0 and negative, mali. X, 4 and 0. Okay, we have 4 and 0. A negative 4 and 0. And then we have positive 4 and 0. And then we also have 0 and negative 3. And we have 0 and positive 3. Okay, so since our vertex lies on the x-axis, naghigda, remember that our vertices are the endpoints of our major axis. And kung unsay forma sa major axis, mo to siya ang forma sa atuang ellipse, no? So since ang atuang vertices naghigda, no? Kini og kani, so atuang major axis naghigda siya. So we have the vertical or horizontal tawag ni horizontal ellipse. So kung horizontal ellipse ang atuang gamit for standard equation will be quantity of x minus h squared over a squared plus quantity of y minus k squared over b squared. This is equals to 1. Constant ng 1 class ha. Okay, next. Pwede na nato ipang substitute. Okay. Again, we have center at 0 and 0. That means our h and k are 0. Our a, we have 4. Our b, we have 3. So therefore, we have x minus 0 squared over our a. Again, we have 4. And then squared man ta diha, so squared ta dire. Plus quantity of y minus our k is 0 squared over our b, which is 3 squared. This is equals to 1. Okay, simplify, we'll have x minus 0, that is x raised to the power of 2. We have x squared over 4 squared, that is 16, plus y minus 0 squared. We have y minus 0 is y raised to the power of 2. That is y squared over 3 squared. We have 9. This is equals to 1. Okay, wala na tayo ma-simplify. Therefore, this will be our standard form of equation. Okay, so the standard form of equation of an ellipse whose center is at 0, 0, vertices at negative 4 and 0, positive 4 and 0, and co-vertices at 0 and negative 3 and 0 and positive 3 is x squared over 16 plus y squared over 9, that is equals to 1. So, mo ni siya ang iyahang standard form of equation. So, let's proceed with graphing our given ellipse. So, again, we have the center, the vertices, the co-vertices, the distance A, distance B. We have also the standard form of equation. Okay, so since sa ato ang points, ang kulang na lang nato diri will be the endpoints of our latus rectum and also our foci, no? Okay, so to find for our foci sa atong unahon class ha. Okay, to find for our foci, we have wala man tay focal distance, which is the C. So again, before nato makita ang foci, no? Okay, we have to find first our distance C, the value of our distance C. Okay, for the value of our distance C, again, we have the formula C is equals to the square root of a squared minus b squared. Okay, so we have c that is equals to the square root of our a, which is 4. Okay, so we have 4 squared, that is 16, minus our b, which is 3. So 3 squared, that is 9. We have c that is equals to the square root of 16 minus 9. We have 7. Okay, or this is approximately 2.65, or we have 2.7. Okay, approximately 2.7. So we now have the distance C. So for our foci, remember that our standard or our ellipse is horizontal, 'di ba? For our foci. Okay. Remember that the coordinates of our foci in horizontal ellipse, we have h plus minus c and k. Okay, our h is 0, our k is 0, our c is approximately 2.7. So we have 0 plus minus 2.7 and 0. Or we have f sub 1, that is 0 plus 2.7, that is 2.7, and we have 0. And our f sub 2, we have 0 minus 2.7, that is negative 2.7 and 0. Actually, pwede rin ninyo na siya dili i-memorize. Pwede rin ninyo siya ihap-ihapon pag mag-graph na mo. Ang kuan lang ani is, what if na question nga dili kailangan siya i-graph. Okay, ang pangutana lang kay what are the coordinates of the foci. So, hassle na pod kayo kung mag-graph pa kanya mag-ihap-ihap, no? So, kadto. Pwede kaninyong gamiton. Pwede pod mag-ihap-ihap mo sa graph. But then again, ang disadvantage kung mag-ihap-ihap lang mo sa graph is kung ang question lang is coordinates sa foci, kailangan pa mo mag-graph kay mo man yung naandan, di ba? So, naragihapon na siya sa inyo ha class. Okay, so we now have the coordinates of our foci, no? Ang kulang nato is the endpoints of our latus rectum. For the endpoints of our latus rectum, no, mo na lang man ang atong kulang, pwede gamiton gihapon nato ang foci. Remember na para makuha na to ang endpoint sa latus rectum, kailangan sa nato isolve ang distance from the focus, no? So, we have for foci, for EPLR, that is endpoints of latera recta. Okay, endpoints of latera recta, we have b squared over a. This is equals to our b squared, which is 9, divided by our a, which is 4. So we'll have 9 over 4, 2.25. Okay. Saan man na siya pag mata-mata class? Okay. Remember that our ellipse is in horizontal form. So therefore, ang atuang latus rectum or latera recta is nagtindog, no? So therefore, up and down. Okay, and remember that the endpoints of our latera recta is aligned sa atuang foci, no? So, direta. Taas giding ellipse class. Okay, so for the endpoints of our latera recta, gamiton lang nato ang foci. And then, plus minus lang ta sa iyahang y coordinates because our latera recta are vertical, nagtindog. So, meaning, since align man siya sa atong focus, ang mag-move lang ani is the y coordinates. So, plus minus lang ta sa y coordinates sa ato ang foci. So, for our foci 1, okay, we have 2.7, and 0 plus minus, we have 2.5. So, 2.5. So, one of the endpoints of latus rectum, sa f sub 1, we have 2.7 and 0 plus 2.5, that is 2.5. Another, we have 2.7 and 0 minus 2.5, that is negative 2.5. Okay, so mo ni siya ang sa pikas na side. Positive man, so sa ato ang right side. For the left side, we have focus na negative 2.7 and 0. Plus minus lang nato ang distance sa latus rectum which is 2.5. Okay, so therefore, we have negative 2.7 and 0 plus 2.5, that is 2.5. And also negative 2.7 and sa right side or sa isa ka point, we have 0 minus 2.5, that is negative 2.5. Baba day. Okay, ana lang. So, natay foci, natay center, vertices, co-vertices, foci, and endpoints of latus rectum, pwede na, or endpoints of latera recta, pwede na ta mag-graph. Okay? Okay, so if we are going to graph our ellipse, okay, of course, ipang-plot sa nato ang mga points. First, we have our center at 0, 0. So, that means at the origin, meaning na adere. This will be our center. Next, we have our vertex 1 or V sub 1, that is negative 4 and 0. So, from the origin, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. So, kani. This will be our V sub 1. We also have V sub 2, that is positive 4 and 0. So, positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nadere. This will be our V sub 2. Next, we also have our co-vertex, which is 0 and negative 3. See, V sub 1, 0 and negative 3. So, pababa, we have 1, 2, 3 na adere. This will be CV sub 1. Okay, we also have CV sub 2, that is 0 and positive 3. So, 1, 2, 3 na adere. This is our CV sub 2. Next, we also have our foci. So, F sub 1, that is 2.7 and 0. So, 2.7 and 0, we have 1, 2.7. So, approximately, duol-duol siya kay 3. So, assuming nga mao ni siya. Okay. This is F sub 1. Next, we also, by the way, class, ang V1 and V2, V sub 1, V sub 2, pwede na siya bali-bali ha. Same with F sub 1 and F sub 2, pwede po na siya bali-bali. As long as ang coordinates dili. Okay? So, pwede nga si 2.7 and 0, siya si F sub 2, or siya si F sub 1. Okay ra na siya. Okay, next, we also have F sub 2, that is negative 2.7 and 0. So, negative 2, we have 1, 2, 0.7, approximately duol-duol gihapon sa negative 3. So, approximately kani. This is F sub 2. Okay, next, ang kulang nato is our EPLR. First, EPLR, we have 2.7 and 2.5. So, line lang siya sa focus. Ang kulang lang nato is ang pasaka niya. 2.5, we have 1, 2.5. Tunga-tunga. Okay, straight lang nato siya sa tong focus. Okay, kana. We also have 2.5, 2.7 and negative 2.5. So, negative 2.5, 1, 2.5. Align lang gihapon nato. Kana. And then, we also have negative 2.7 and 2.5. So, negative 2.7 and 2.5. Align lang. Okay, dara. Okay, we also have negative 2.7 and negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. Kani siya. Okay, so since kompleto naman ang atuang points, pwede na nato siya i-connect. So, from our vertex, vertex. Okay, assuming nga perfect na siya, perfect na, tawag ani, perfect nga ellipse. So, ana ang graph sa ato ang ellipse. So, again, vertical, I mean horizontal siya. Pahigda. Major axis, minor axis. Okay, so that's it for the solution of our first example. For our second example, we have the given 2 and 4, center at 2 and 4, vertex at 2, or v sub 1, 2 and 0, v sub 2, 2 and 8, CV sub 1, 0 and 4, and CV sub 2, 4 and 4. So again, in finding for the standard equation of an ellipse, ang kailangan lang nato is or are the coordinates of our center, the distance A, and the distance B. So since given naman na nga to ang center, therefore, ang pangitaon na lang nato will be our distance A and distance B. Okay? So, for our distance A, for our distance A, again, gamiton lang nato ang center. So, we have center at 2 and 4 and one of our vertices. So, any of the vertices, same lang gihapon na sila og makuha or same lang gihapon ang distance na atong makuha. So, say for example, ang gamiton nato is v sub 1 lang gihapon. So, we have vertex 1 at 2 and 0. So, again, in finding for distance A, okay, tanawon lang nato sa center and vertex kung asa dito ang dili pareha og coordinates or value sa coordinates. So, in this case, ang x value sa ato ang center and x value sa ato ang vertex are the same. So, ang ato ang i-minus will be the y coordinates. And remember that always get the absolute value of the distance. Okay, so we have 4 and 0. So 4 minus 0, that will be 4. So our A is equal to 4. Okay, not dili siya always equal to 4 ha. Nasaktuhan lang gina siya nga equal to 4 na. Okay, next, nanatay distance A. Next nato we have for distance B. Okay, for distance B, for distance B, ang kuhaon again nato or ang atong gamiton will be the center, again, which is 2 and 4, and one of the co-vertices. So, say for example, CV sub 1 lang gyapon natong gamiton. Same with vertices, same lang na sila distance. Minsan asa diha ang imong gamiton. Okay? So, CV sub 1, we have 0 and 4. Okay, for B. So, in this case, ang same of coordinates or same of values na coordinates, we have y. Okay, kana same. So, ang atong i-minus will be the x coordinates. So, 2 and 0, we have 2 minus 0, that is 2. So, our B or distance B is 2. Okay, next, nanatay A, nanatay B, nanatay C. Now, visualize na lang nato kung vertical or horizontal ba ang atuang ellipse. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, our center, we have 2 and 4. So, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Nadire ang atuang center. Then, we have vertex na 2 and 0. So, 1, 2, and 0. Then, we have 2 and positive 8. So, 2 and positive 8. We also have co-vertex at 0 and 4. So, 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, we also have CV sub 2 at 4 and 4. 4 and 4. So, since ang atuang vertices, okay, nagtindog, no? So, the major axis, nagtindog po siya. So, therefore, since nagtindog man ang atuang vertices or our major axis, then, this ellipse is a vertical. Okay, vertical ni siya nga ellipse. Okay, so since vertical ellipse man therefore, ang gamiton nato na standard equation for SE, okay, we'll have x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared. This is equals to 1. Again, our center, we have 2 and 4. Okay. And then we have our a, that is equals to 4. And our b, that is equals to 2. Okay. Substitute, we'll have x minus our h, we have 2 squared over our a, I mean our b, which is 2. So we'll have 2 squared plus we have y minus our k, which is 4 squared all over our a, which is 4. So we have 4 squared, that is equals to 1. So we'll have x minus 2 squared over 2 squared, that is 4, plus quantity of y minus 4 squared over 4 squared, that is 16. This is equals to 1. Okay. Dili na nato ni sila expand ha, kay standard form of equation naman natong ipangita. So, wala na tayong masimplify ana. Therefore, that will be our final answer. Oops. Okay. So, the standard form of equation of an ellipse, which has center at 2 and 4, vertices 2 and 0 and 2 and 8, and co-vertices 0 and 4, and 4 and 4 is quantity of x minus 2 squared over 4 plus quantity of y minus 4 squared over 16, that is equals to 1. So, mo ni siya ang iyahang standard form of equation. Okay, next. So, since nahuman naman nato or nakita na nato ang iyang standard form of equation, ang next step nato or next na buhaton nato is to graph the ellipse. So, in graphing the ellipse, again, the given, we have center, vertices, co-vertices. Ang wala na lang nato nga points will be the foci and the endpoints of latera recta. So, isolve sa nato sila daan before nato i-graph ang ato ang ellipse. So, for our foci, of course, kailangan nato pangitaon daan ang focal distance, which is ang ato ang distance C. So, again, to find for distance C, okay, for C, we have C that is equals to the square root of A squared minus B squared. Okay, or this is equals to the square root of our A, which is 4 squared, that is 16, minus our B, which is 2 squared, we have 4. Okay, so this is equals to 16 minus 4, that is 12. Square root of 12, we have 3. 2 square root of 3, or this is approximately 3.46, or we have 3.5. So, our C is 3.5. So, for our foci, okay, since pahigda man ang ato ang, I mean, patindog, no? Vertical man ito. Vertical man ang ato ang ellipse. Therefore, we'll have foci at H and K plus minus C. So, our H and K, we have 2 and 4. So, we'll have 2 and 4 plus minus our distance C, which is 3.5. Or we have F sub 1, that is 2 and 4 plus 3.5, that is 7.5. And our F sub 2, we have 2 and 4 minus 3.5, that is positive 0.5. Okay, nanatay foci. Next will be our endpoints of latera recta. Now, to find for the endpoints of latera recta, for EP, okay, we have for LR, okay, we have to use the formula B squared over A, or this is equals to our B is 2. 2 squared, we have 4 over our a, which is 4. This is equals to 1. So, 1 lang siya. Now, kung i-visualize na po nato, no, since our ellipse is vertical, nagpatindog, so major axis nagpatindog, therefore, our lateral recta nagpahigda. Okay, so i-plus minus nato ni nga distance sa x-coordinate sa ato ang foci. So, for our EPLR, first focus, we have 2 plus minus 1 and 7.5. So, the first coordinates of our of the endpoints of latus rectum, one latus rectum, we have 2 plus 1, that is 3, and 7.5. The other one, we have 2 minus 1, that is 1. Okay, we have 1 and 7.5. Next, for the latus rectum sa ato ang focus 2 or sa second focus or F sub 2, we have 2 plus minus 1 and 0.5. Okay, so we have 2 plus 1, that is 3 and 0.5. Next, we have 2 minus 1, that is 1 and 0.5. So, mo ni siya ang ato ang latera recta. Endpoints of our latera recta. Okay, since complete naman ng ato ang points, therefore, pwede na nato i-plot sa Cartesian coordinate plane para mag-graph na nato ang ato ang ellipse. So, ang first nato i-plot, of course, ang ato ang center, which is 2 and 4. So, ang coordinates niya, we have x na 2 and y na 4. So, from the origin, we have 1, 2, and then pasaka ta, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, therefore, dire ang ato ang center. Okay, we have 4 and 2. This will be our center. Okay, next, we have our vertex 2 and 0. Okay, so we have positive 2. So, 1, 2, and then 0. So, therefore, naa lang siya dire. This will be our V sub 1. Next, we also have 2 and positive 8. So, 2 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Therefore, naa siya dire. Okay, this will be our V sub 2. Okay, na tayo center, vertex 1, vertex 2. Next, we have co-vertex, which is 0 and positive 4. So, x na 0, and then y na positive 4. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, naa dire ang first co-vertex or CV sub 1. Next, we also have CV sub 2, that is 4 and 4. So, x na 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 na y. Therefore, naa dire. Okay, this is our CV sub 2. Next, we also have our focus or foci. We have F sub 1, that is positive 2 and 7.5. So, positive 2, 1, 2, and then 7.5 since 8 man so tunga-tunga, dool-dool lang, no? Okay, so therefore, naa dire. Okay? Next, this is F sub 1. Okay, next, we also have our F sub 2, that is 2 and 0.5. So, 2 and 0.5, tunga-tunga ni 0 and positive 1. So, therefore, naa dire. Okay, approximately kini tunga-tunga. This is F sub 2. Next, our EPLR. First set, we have 3 and 7.5. So, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 7.5 naa siya dire. Okay. Oops. Wala na straight. Next, we also have 1 and 7.5. So, 1 and 7.5 na adere. And then we also have 3 and 0.5. So 1, 2, 3 and 0.5 kani. And then we also have 1 and 0.5. So 1 and 0.5 kana. Okay, so kompleto na itong points. Pwede na nato sila i-connect para ma-form na nato ang ellipse. So from the vertex, dira, pababa, likod, pababa, then, dire, oops. Assuming na lang guys nga perfect ni siya pagga-graph kay murag lisod jud siya i-graph nga pina-perfect gud no. Okay, kana and then kadto. Okay, so mo na ang graph sa ato ang ellipse which has the center at 2 and 4, vertices 2 and 0 and 2 and 8 and co-vertices 0 and 4 and 4 and 4. So ingana ang iyang dagway. So again, vertical siya. Okay, nagtindog siya. So, same sa atuang tawag ani sa atuang equation pod, vertical sad siya. So, that's it.